This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English, episode number 343. 343. Why did I say 343? I either have problems counting or I, for some reason, say numbers in different ways, don't I? Anyway, in today's episode, I believe, I never know because I just do this by myself and no one ever gives me their opinion, but I believe I have a very special episode for you, okay? Because there is a wonderful guest today, a famous guest, but not in the sense which you probably are used to, because today's guest is a gentleman, a man called Mickey Flanagan. Have you ever heard of him? I don't know. He is I wouldn't say very famous. I would say famous comedian in the UK, but my favourite comedian. I absolutely love him. And I was thinking recently how I remember reading once that when you can understand a stand-up comedian, it means you have reached the ultimate level in that language, because that means you understand obviously cultural jokes, you understand the play on words, because often comedians will use a word which maybe means something else, so you understand that as well, and you understand basically all the tiny nuances, meaning small details of the language. So I thought I would put you to the test and I will play you some bits of his stand-up routine, let's say, and you can see how much you understand, and we can maybe even have a look at some of the things that he says. I will try to help you in some way, but I don't want to give you everything, obviously, if that makes sense. I want you to try to work for yourselves, okay? I don't want to say, he says this, then we listen to what he says. That would be a bit boring, wouldn't it? But I want you to enjoy the pleasure of listening to and understanding a stand-up comedian, and in my opinion, the best British stand-up comedian. Although there is another one, a Scottish person that I really like, and maybe we'll look at him another day. But today we are looking at Mickey Flanagan, who is from the East End of London, so is a real-life Cockney. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of that. Someone from the East End generally is described as a Cockney, and they have a specific way of talking. In fact, Mickey Flanagan, when you hear him talk in a minute, he talks about going out. Okay, this is the first one we're going to listen to, and different levels of going out. Now, the word out is supposed to be pronounced with an ow sound, out, but you will notice he often says ah, like that. So instead of ow, it's ah. And there is obviously no t at the end. It's a glottal stop. So out is ah. Another one, for example, the word later, he will say later. Another word which I picked up on is how he says the word though. He's talking about having a drink and he says a quick one, no. So it actually sounds like the word no. Yeah, I'm only going to stay for a quick one, no. Anyway, this stand-up routine, I think it's about 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about it after and then listen to another one. He also talks about Frank Sinatra and Cinderella, okay? And a loaf of bread, okay? See if you can pick those things up. They are towards the end. See if you can pick them up. And just one piece of vocabulary I am going to highlight before we will have a look at the end as well of another piece is the term you may as well. A fantastic term, really, really common in the UK, which is used to suggest doing something often when there is nothing better to do. For example, I remember in my 20s talking to my friends saying, what should we do? There was nothing better to do, so someone would always say, we may as well go to the pub, which we often did. And that, I suppose, that example is kind of connected to what you are about to listen to now. So I now will let Mickey Flanagan take the floor, and you can enjoy this, which now is one of, I suppose, the most famous jokes in the UK about talking about going out. I will talk to you again after it finishes, but enjoy. And just remember the word out he will often say as ah.
Can't actually remember the last time we ended up out. You know what I mean by this, don't you? The fact that in the UK we drink so much, we have different levels of being out, different types. I'll talk you through them. You pop out just to go to the shops, you've got to get a couple of bits, and you bump into a friend who says, should we have a quick drink? And you go, yeah, only a quick one, though, because I'm very busy. 3 hours later, you're still in the pub. And then what happens is the evening people come in. These people are going out properly. These people are going what we like to call out. Now, the out people come up to you, don't they? And they go, you going to come out with us? And you go, I can't come out. I didn't even come out. I only popped out. The out people don't want to hear this. They look at you, they go, look, you popped out. You've ended up out. You may as well come out. If you've got just the right amount of alcohol in your system, you look at them, you go, you know what? I'm coming out. 5 hours later, you're in some horrendous nightclub. Sinatra's or Cinderella's, some hellhole. You're drunk now, and you feel you've got a crazy story for everybody. And you walk up to people. You go, do you know what? I didn't even come out. I only popped out. Now look at me. I'm out. I think the reason you feel so compelled to keep telling this rather long-winded story, because you're standing there in your carpet slippers. With a pint of milk and a cut loaf.
So there we have it. Did you manage to understand? So he was talking about the different levels of going out in the UK. To pop out, to grab a couple of bits, as he said, like some milk and some bread. Then you end up out. Out would be just simply the pub. And then he said the evening people come and they are going out, meaning some kind of nightclub, like Sinatra's or Cinderella's. A hellhole, I think he described them as. And that is absolutely 100% true, that these things exist in the UK, of popping out, going out, and being out. So that is why everyone from the UK absolutely loves this joke. Some other nice vocabulary he used. He said the reason why you want to tell this long-winded story, so something that is longer than necessary, is because you're there with your carpet slippers, because you only popped out, you only went to the shop to buy some milk and some bread. A cut loaf he used to describe bread, meaning sliced bread, cut bread. So in this next clip, he is talking about Americans, okay, and very accurately, in my opinion, describes what British people think of Americans, okay? Now, I don't think it probably is difficult to understand, but you should be able to understand the general meaning, okay? Just a couple of words before, he uses the word cynical, okay? So if you are cynical in this context, it means you kind of make fun of people in not a very nice way, okay? Like on the podcast, I often make fun of my friends, they make fun of me. It's done in a nice way. If you're cynical, it is not a nice way. Another great term he uses is, I'm having some of this. So meaning I am having some of this, I am enjoying this, I like it. And the last one was, this could rub off on me. So rub off on me, this could start happening to me. If you spend lots of time with intelligent people, then maybe their intelligence rubs off on you and you become intelligent too. But the way he uses this term is, this could rub off on me. So try to recognize it. It's not actually easy to catch because of the speed in which he says it. Okay, see if you can understand where he uses these terms, and see, more importantly, if you can understand more or less what he says. Okay, enjoy.
But they're nice people, the Americans. Nice people. They're not cynical. They're happy. They're positive. They're friendly. Now, this is nice for the average Brit. You turn up, you go, this is all right. I'm having some of this. This could rub off on me. But about a year later, after you've been living there, you wake up one morning and you think, again, right, my fucking nerves now. Because their positivity drains you. When they high-five the arrival of a salad, you just want to punch them in the face. Oh, we're high-fiving the tomatoes turning up, are we?
So did you manage to follow? Basically, he said how it's great when you get to America. They're also enthusiastic. so positive they are not cynical. But after you've been living there for a while, their enthusiasm gets right on your nerves. I loved the way he used the word right there to really emphasize it. They get right on my fucking nerves. He obviously used a swear word, which I feel bad using swear words. I know I often do, but now I'm just recording by myself, so I don't like doing it. And then he said their positivity drains you. A lovely word there, drains you, makes you tired. Because they start high-fiving when they bring food to you, like a salad or something like that. Now, that's obviously an exaggerated opinion. Obviously, he's doing this for comedy purposes, but generally that is what British people think about Americans. So, sticking to the international theme, now he is telling us his thoughts on city breaks, okay? So a city break meaning it's kind of like a Friday to Sunday thing, maybe even Friday to Monday. You fly to Paris, for example, and you have a city break just for a few days, you know, somewhere in Europe. No one from England goes, for example, to Rio de Janeiro for a city break because if you travel that far, you kind of want to stay longer. So here we have his thoughts on a city break. This is a very short clip. It's like 30 seconds. Just some things you may need before. So the couple of days he mentions, but notice how he says couple of days for couple of couple. And he also talks about spending money and says 15 quid. Now 15 quid is 15 pounds. And he also mentions a bridge and a walk, but also notice that how he kind of says woke, because this is how people talk from the east side of London and pretty much where I live as well. Okay, so remember, couple of days, 15 quid, a bridge and a walk. Oh, and the way he says city is actually city. Enjoy.
But the other thing is you've got to enjoy looking at other cities, apparently. The city break, does it actually exist, the city break? Is it a real thing? Went with the wife to Prague the other week and she said, after a couple of days, she said, are you enjoying yourself? I said, yeah, I've just paid 15 quid for 2 cups of coffee. But at least we've got that bridge to walk over again. Because I've never done that before.
So there, I think he was talking about something that has happened to all of us. You go to a new city, you obviously don't know where you're going, you end up paying 15 quid for 2 cups of coffee. But then he said, but at least we've got that bridge to walk over again. We haven't done that, have we? Because you've probably done it 10 times already. So for the next one, again, this is another YouTube short, which I use. So the clip is short, but I'm going to do more of a listening test this time, okay? So I'm not going to give you any context. I'm just going to play it, and then we will break it down so that you can understand it, okay? So here it is. Enjoy.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it. Back in the 70s, when people were proud to live on a council estate, no stigma, lovely. People would come in the pub. I've got myself a council flat. You go, whee! You just get on the sick, you'll never work again, son. You'll never work again.
So how was that? I'm going to say it was quite difficult. So now what we're going to do, we're going to break it down a bit into some small sections and listen again. So we will start with the first part.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it.
So there he said, as you know, I grew up on a council estate. Okay, now first of all, a council estate, before there was a housing crisis in the UK, those were houses provided by the government. So you didn't actually own the house, you lived in a house provided by the government, the local council, and you paid rent to the council. But not a lot of rent. I believe they were really popular in the 80s and kind of started dying out towards the end of the 90s. I don't know. So he said, I grew up on a council estate. But notice how, again, he doesn't say council, he says cancel. And then jokingly says, I haven't made a big thing of it, because this is his whole persona, that he's an East End Cockney guy that grew up on a working class council estate. So he actually does make a big thing of it. So let's listen to that part again, and then we will move on to the next part. So try to understand the next part, and then we'll do the same again, if that makes sense.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it. Back in the 70s, when people were proud to live on a council estate, no stigma, lovely.
So we know the first part. As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I haven't made a big thing of it. And then he said, back in the 70s, when people were proud to live on a council estate. So what does that word mean? Proud. That means proud. He said back in the 70s, there was no stigma as well. People were proud to live on a council estate. Lovely. So now let's listen to the next few words again, listening to everything we've already listened to just to really get it in your head. And obviously try to understand what he says at the end.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it. Back in the 70s, when people are proud to live on a council estate, no stigma, lovely. People would come in the pub, I've got myself a council flat, you go, woohoo!
So that part was people would come in the pub and say, I've got myself a council flat. So got myself instead of myself, people often say meself, or like, where's my bag? People say, where's me bag? So people would come in the pub and say, I've got myself a council flat. And then you'd go, way, because you were happy for that person. Notice how both of those, he said, people would come in the pub and you would go, way. So you're using would there to show it's nostalgic and something that you actually enjoyed. Okay, so now let's listen to everything. And again, just try to understand the very last bit, which is probably the most difficult.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it. Back in the 70s, when people are proud to live on a council estate, no stigma, lovely. People would come in the pub, I've got myself a council flat, you go, woohoo! You can just get on the sick, you'll never work again, son, you'll never work again.
So that last part there was if you can just get on the sick. So basically meaning if you can get maybe a letter from the doctor to say that you're not capable of working, then you will never work again. And he says, you'll never work again, son. We do this in the UK. Well, I don't, but older people generally do. Call people son, even if it's not your son. So again, that was, if you can just get on the sick, you'll never work again, son. You'll never work again. Meaning, brilliant. You've got yourself a council flat. You don't really have to pay much. Then you won't have to work. And that was apparently a great life in the 70s. So let's listen to it one last time so you can fully understand it. And then I've got another one for you.
As you know, I grew up on a council estate. I've not made a big thing of it. Back in the 70s, when people are proud to live on a council estate, no stigma, lovely. People would come in the pub, I've got myself a council flat, you go, woohoo! You can just get on the sick, you'll never work again, son, you'll never work again.
So hopefully that time you obviously understood everything. By the way, this is a new idea I've got. This is why I'm doing it. I actually published a questionnaire recently, which many people responded to, and spoke about a new R&R audio school, which I'm thinking of making an audio school, meaning there will be lessons all delivered through audio. There will be grammar lessons, vocabulary lessons, listening lessons like this, where we try to understand celebrities. The idea being that everyone can do it because I know how busy people are. I have thought about doing online courses where you have to go to a lesson at a specific time, but I know people live in different time zones and it's all very difficult and people have difficult lives. So this is an idea I have. So I actually have a questionnaire in this podcast you can listen to, basically to tell me if you enjoyed this episode and just to give me any feedback, because I never get any feedback. So yes, remember, you can stop the podcast now and listen to that. And now we are going to listen to one more, okay? Now, this time, again, I'm not going to give you too much information. Actually, I'll give you a bit. So this, again, is where he is talking about Americans, okay? And the problem with Americans. So I won't give you too much information, just a couple of words. He mentions his nan, which is what we say in the UK for grandmother. We say nan. He talks about taking the piss. So when you take the piss, you make fun of someone. Now, a really important word is the word barnet, which is actually the word for hair. This is a Cockney rhyming slang word because I believe it's barnet, fair, hair. Don't worry if that makes no sense to you, but just know the word barnet is hair. Okay. He also, I believe, a couple of times uses the word geezer, which means a man. And another really important word is wig. Okay, so if you're losing your hair, some people decide to wear a wig if they have no hair to make it seem as if they have. Okay, now remember, again, he is talking about the problem with Americans. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you anymore. Here is the stand-up routine. Enjoy.
They don't take the piss properly either. Now, we take the piss properly in the UK. We're trained as children. My nan trained me up. She said, come down the pub, we'll take the piss out of people. Come on. As long as they don't hear it, don't matter. She set me in the corner. Geezer would come in with an eye patch on. She'd go, aye, aye. Lord Nelson's turned up over here, look. But the Americans, not so much, and it's quite trying. And I'll tell you an example of why I couldn't live there. I'm out with the Americans. They're eating too much. Of course they were eating too much. A bloke came in with a wig on. A catastrophe of a wig. Bastard of a wig. Provocative. The wig is a very provocative garment. It's a bloke saying, I've lost my hair, but I'm not having it. No. I'm going to put this on my head. And I'm going to have a walkabout. And you lot are going to collude in the illusion I've still got a barnet, all right? We're all on board. So the wig came in. The wig came in, hovered in like some sort of spaceship with a man underneath it. So I thought, at least we'll have a laugh. So I leant into the Americans. I said, have a look at the geezer's wig. Have a look at the syrup. Nothing. Nothing. Didn't join in, didn't laugh. They had no idea what I was trying to achieve. The woman got a bit upset. She said, oh, how scathing. How scathing. She said, why are you attacking that man? He's obviously got issues with the lust of his hair, but he's taking positive steps. I said, have a look at his head, love. Hair is walking about with a bit of old carpet on, you know. A positive step. I said, I'm going home. I'm going back to the UK, where sanity prevails. The bloke walks in looking like that. We all turn around as one and we go, ha, ha, ha. Oh, have a look at him, will ya? What a complete cunt.
So you may have noticed I had to bleep out a word because it was one of the really bad words, one that starts with a C and finishes with a T, okay? So I hope you enjoyed it. There was actually lots of good things in that last recording, which will be in tomorrow's R&R family episode. We are going to dissect it a little bit. But if you would be interested in doing things like this, let me know by taking the questionnaire inside the podcast today. Okay, I will also send an email out about this. So thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this new kind of style podcast. Don't worry, the normal style will still be there. I'm not completely stopping that. I just thought I would try something new. You know, variety is the spice of life. So thanks a lot for listening. I will see you all very soon. But in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.